Budgets, babies, and Obamacare lead today's headlines on Liberty Today. We'll hear from Lance Russell, Stacy Woolman, Bob Ellis, Sam Kephart, and Tonchi Weaver as Liberty Today goes on the air.
The South Dakota state budget went up a little bit this year. I think if my math is somewhere close, we're spending $11 million or so a day for South Dakota state government.
That could very well
It's a lot of money. It's over $4 billion. It seems like a lot of money for a state like South Dakota with 800,000 people.
4.1 billion is what I understand it to be. I think the one thing that I'm most interested in getting a little bit more information on before I would commit to supporting a budget this large is apparently we have an additional 100+ employees to the state of South Dakota. And it seems to me that even in the budgets where we had cut the schools, we had gained employees. Now, there was one budget, I believe, the first budget that Governor Dugard put forward. In that budget, we actually cut some employees. But since then, we've been growing the government and the infrastructure of the government.
Well, Lance, the last year I served in the Senate, I joined you in voting against the state budget.
That is correct.
And you kind of led the way, and you're kind of the Ron Paul of South Dakota in terms of voting against the state budget. But you've done it with good reason.
Yeah, I think that we probably were the only two that voted against it that year. But the reason why I voted against 3 of the 4 budgets is because each one of them have grown the size and the scope of government and its intervention in our daily lives. And unfortunately, South Dakota spends more than 1/3 of our budget is federal money. And with every dollar that we take from the federal government, we also take a lot of regulation.
Strings attached to every dollar.
And it impacts the communities. For instance, I was at a city council meeting in Hot Springs within the last 3 weeks, and I was lectured by a member of the president of the zoning board for the city of Hot Springs, because he said, you know, every year the legislature goes in and they put in these uniform standards that none of them understand in the legislature. They pass them on to us and we can't even comply with them. And what are you doing, Lance? And I quickly told him I've never voted for, or I didn't vote for that. So,
yes. Well, and unfortunately, while you are standing steadfast as a voice for reason, you are really not joined by a lot of company.
No, there aren't enough other people that are really trying to evaluate what we need to be doing as a government versus what we want to be doing.
You know, the caucus process is a very interesting process. You'd probably know that if they hadn't thrown you out. But the reality is that through the session, there's this negotiating that goes on, and it almost makes you, by the end of the session, think that what they're proposing is reasonable because they've negotiated it all.
Well, they have and they haven't. The part of the process is the most disturbing, is that you don't really have all of the facts. And what I mean by that is that you're given certain facts. And what facts you're given in the House Republican caucus may differ from the facts that were given in the Senate Republican caucus. And on more than one occasion, I've found out a House Republican Party position on an issue related to the budget from Senate Republicans that have talked to me about what their leadership told them the House leadership was telling them. But I had never taken a position on that.
Yeah.
So I learned it from people in another meeting room that I am not welcome in.
And the bottom line is the leadership is steering, engineering, and the word steamrolling comes to mind.
Well, like another representative told me, he, at the end of his first year, he felt like he was a mushroom. He was kept in the dark all the way through and really didn't know what was going on.
And fed a lot of...
Yes.
I think you get the picture. What's happening in South Dakota, we're spending a lot of money. and even your elected representatives don't have accurate information many times, spending over $4 billion. Lance, that's a lot of money. You and I could retire comfortably on that.
I would certainly think so.
I think I'd split it with you. Unfortunately, neither one of us get to split it, but also unfortunate, if you're listening today, you get to help pay for it.